Everyone, welcome back from spring break. Today we are going to look at the introduction to World War One. We're not going to talk about the entirety of World War One. That is what future lessons are for. However, today we are going to look at World War One in bite-sized pieces. So please do me a favor. On the piece of paper in front of you, please go ahead and write Lesson 1, Intro to World War One at the top, and then the date below. So to begin, we do need to look at the time and place. We are going to look at the years 1914 through 1939 today. Again, we are not going to be diving into each specific detail. We are more looking at an overview of how did A lead to B. For time and place, we need to look at the dissolving of empires. So the empires that we are going to see eventually dissolve are going to be the Ottoman Empire and the Austrian-Hungary Empire. They're going to cease to exist. Those are going to experience some social and political crises that do lead to their downfall. Next, we are going to see nationalism. So nationalism increased as European colonies challenged colonial rule. So India, Africa, Canada, Australia, those places where Europe did control, countries like Britain, we looked at controlled India, we looked at France controlling some parts of Africa, I believe Algeria. We looked at the Belgians controlling the Congo. Germany controlled Nambia. So we see a lot of those places that are having some increased nationalism, and they are going to start to push back. Later, we are going to see some of those resistance movements from the colonies that are due to nationalism, their sense of pride. Lastly, we are going to see the increase of totalitarianism and fascism. So we need to look at the causes of World War One. The causes, maybe you learned this in your American history class. We call them the main causes, M-A-I-N. So our first cause for the letter M is going to be militarism. Militarism is going to be the new technology and advancements made due to imperial control in some other countries like Africa, some parts of Asia, Middle East. We're going to see a lot of resources. We know that in the Middle East, you can get oil, and oil is really what's needed in order to make some big machineries operate. So we are seeing also supplies of iron and steel. And also, in order to have a military, you can ask people to join it. You can have propaganda that says, come join the military, it's good for you. You know, maybe you've seen the Uncle Sam posters. However, in times like this, when they really need a lot of people, they're going to do military drafts. Next, in our main, we have A for alliances. Alliances, those are going to include Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy as the Triple Alliance, which formed in 1882. And then we have France, Russia, and Great Britain, which are the Triple Entente, which formed in 1907. So something with alliances that we do need to know is the Triple Alliance is going to switch its name later on to the Central Powers. And I will explain that to you in a little bit of how they switched their name. But next, we have I for imperialism is going to be a lot of the competition for land, such as Africa, some parts of Asia, Middle East, for those raw materials to increase their strength. Lastly, we have our N for nationalism. So each European state did have their own pride, and they were also very self-interested. They didn't want to work with other people. They wanted to work on building themselves up. So they saw cooperation with each other as weakness, not strength. So nationalism is going to be a big reason as to why countries end up in conflict and war. So with all of these main causes, we end up on a day in 1914 with Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife. So Archduke Franz Ferdinand is going to be assassinated by Serbian terrorist nationalist groups. And because of that, that brought Serbia and Austria-Hungary to the brink of war. In this brink of war, Russia decides to come up and support Serbia. Remember, Russia is going to be on the side of the Triple Entente. However, Germany, who is part of the alliance, is going to declare war on Russia to support Austria-Hungary. Later on, the Triple Alliance, remember, Triple Alliance is going to be Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. Later, Italy is going to drop out of the Triple Alliance, and Germany and Austria-Hungary are going to gain the Ottoman Empire, which then changes their name to the Central Powers. So, what are the consequences of war? There are so many different consequences of war. However, today we're going to focus on the main consequence, which is going to be the Treaty of Versailles. With the Treaty of Versailles, it's going to be a positive and a negative consequence, depending on which side you're on. It's a positive consequence because it's a peace settlement. War is over, we're done fighting. We are more seeing this is a treaty to stop war. It's an agreement between multiple nations to end war. And in this ending of war, the countries need someone to blame, so they blame Germany. They say Germany needs to pay for reparations and the damages done to other countries. Next, we have the Russian Revolution. The Russian Revolution is directly influenced by World War I because of internal difficulties. These internal difficulties are going to be the major losses that they suffered, as well as internal conflicts that they have with each other. So, for example, the Tsar had no favor for the people's problems. He was very detached. He didn't really care. So in 1917, a revolution is going to break out. And in this first revolt, the people are going to depose or rid of the Tsar, and they're going to establish a provisional government, which is just a temporary government. However, this temporary government did not do very well at managing the army. So we are going to see revolutionaries come up. These revolutionaries are going to be the Bolsheviks. They're going to be the leaders. They heavily rejected the temporary gov, and they are going to be led by Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky. Maybe you've heard those names before. So Lenin and Trotsky are going to embrace Marxist socialism, and they're going to employ people named Soviets. These Soviets are elected council of workers, and they develop plans that reflect the collective desire of the people. Their main goal is to end war and increase prosperity at home. So the Great Depression is going to be an international financial and economic crisis. It's not just going to happen in the United States, though it was the worst in the United States. It is also going to impact majorly Europe and Latin America. These crises, for example, led to changes in society and the economy in France and the United States, such as having different programs such as social welfare, social security, and unemployment benefits. So we are seeing some of the things that we still have today are a result of the Great Depression. Lastly, we are going to see the rise of totalitarianism. We are talking about totalitarianism. I would like to give you a definition to begin with. So, totalitarianism is a government that aims to control its political, economic, social, intellectual, and cultural lives of its citizens. This is going to suppress the individual freedom at the cost of the collective will. The first person that we're going to talk about is Benito Mussolini. Now, Mussolini is going to be in Italy. He was a prime minister starting in 1922 and then became a dictator in 1925. Our next person that we're going to look at is Adolf Hitler. He was a World War I veteran, and his goal was to return Germany to its past glory. So he took control in 1933. Later on this semester, we're going to look at documents that proved how Germany started off as a democracy, but these documents that he signed, put into place, basically stated that in the event of an emergency, Hitler could shift this democracy to a dictatorship. So in 1933, he took power, and he did a lot of systematic destruction of people he considered undesirable. When you think of that, we think of mainly the Jewish, but there are a lot of other people in that category of undesirable that also were persecuted. Lastly, we're going to look at Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin was in Russia. He participated in the Russian Revolution, and when he took control, he had a militarized secret police. He suppressed free speech and took control of anything he felt would benefit his country of Russia. So these are three people that have a lot of control, they have a lot of power within their countries, and we're also going to see how they end up influencing the countries next to them and around them.